I think all of you out there are familiar with the Mafia oath, the oath of omerta. We go into a room, we stand in front of the boss, they take a knife, cut our fingers, some blood drops on the floor, we take an oath of omerta, we're going to be loyal to the family, never betray it. Pretty secret stuff, right? Well, there's another mafia you may not be aware of, and they also have a ritual, a little bit tougher than ours. They take a hot iron, a branding iron, put it on your chest, and you are dedicated and devoted for life. And if not, you're gonna die. Hey everyone, welcome to another sit down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody is doing well. Everything is okay on this end. We do have our struggles, obviously, like everyone else, but I tend to focus on the blessings, and I have many, so praise God for that. And hope everybody thinks the same, because we all go through stuff in life, but you know what? Many of us are blessed, and we should focus on the good things, just better outlook in life, and at least that's the way I look at things. Anyway, what are we going to do today? Something a little bit different. There are so many great television series out there, especially in the streaming days. All these new platforms like Netflix and Hulu, you know them all. And there's some really great stories. And obviously, the series that started all of this, the gold standard in series, was The Sopranos. We have Breaking Bad, Ray Donovan, Bloodline, Ozark, and we have Yellowstone, which is going to be the focus of what I speak about today. What really intrigued me about all of these series was the family. They all focused on the family. Unfortunately, most all of them are dysfunctional. But you know what? In ways we can relate to that. Not everybody has a pristine family where, you have a mother and father, the father's a pastor, the mother's a school teacher, and all the kids are graduate of Harvard and Princeton, with no problems at all in their life. That's not the rule, I would think. I think that's the exception in many cases. All of us have our issues in our family. I've got 7 kids. I know we've had our ups and downs, but that's just the way it goes. But these families are incredibly dysfunctional, I have to say that. Nevertheless, I'm intrigued with all of these series, and I can't, review them all, because when you're doing a series, there are a couple of seasons, and it's kind of hard. And every episode is something to talk about. But what I'd like to do is give overviews of the series. And today, I want to focus on Yellowstone. First of all, a terrific series. I love it. It's on the Paramount Network. I think the Peacock Network is their sister streaming platform. Terrific series, very intriguing, very enjoyable. One of my favorite actors of all times, Kevin Costner, is the lead. He plays John Dutton. And then there's some great actors. It's a good ensemble cast, but it's really good. But the reason I want to get into it is because for a minute I want to diverge. Let's talk about the Mafia. Everybody knows what the Mafia is. It's an organization that began many, many years ago in Sicily. It's comprised of guys that engage in criminal activity, and they're located first in Sicily, then throughout Italy, and then it's spread throughout the world. Here in America, we have Cosa Nostra, which really is the Mafia also. And that's how you know it by. But let me tell you this, there is a definition of Mafia that you may not be aware of, and that is this. I'm going to read it. It's any organized group using extortion and other criminal methods. Doesn't necessarily say you have to be Italian. It says any organized group that uses extortion and other criminal methods. Now, what comes to mind when you think of that? Well, I think of the federal government sometimes. Come on, think about it. You don't pay your taxes, what happens? There's serious consequences. Now you say, well, it's legal. Well, it's legal because they say it's legal. It doesn't mean that they're allowed to, overtax us. And remember something, everything that's legal isn't always moral. And I want to get to something because I get asked this all the time. They say, Michael, you know what? You got to pay your taxes. Even Jesus said that. Because for those of you that are familiar with the New Testament, Jesus was once put on the spot. The Jewish leaders were around him. He was in a crowd of people. He was speaking to his followers. The Jewish leaders didn't like him, so they were trying to trap him, wanted to, maybe accuse him of insurrection of the Romans. So they pointed a question at him, and they said, what about this tax money? What about it? And Jesus looked at them very smart because he understood what they were trying to do, and he said, hey, Render therefore to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. So what he did, he says, hey, pay your taxes. Why? He didn't want the people around him not to pay the taxes. He didn't want to lead an insurrection. Doesn't mean that what the Roman Empire was doing was right. It doesn't mean that Jesus agreed with it, but he was smart. But I'll tell you this, nowhere in the Bible does it say if you don't pay your taxes, it's a sin. So I'm not going to get into all of that right now. But the reason I'm saying this is any organized group that uses extortion and maybe other criminal means or methods to get their work done, that can be considered a mafia. I'm not going to get into the whole government thing. I wrote a book, Mafia Democracy. It's coming out soon. I think April is the release date. We'll be promoting it until then. You're going to hear a lot more about my perception of what our government is today and how mob-like it might really be. And you'll get my point, trust me on that. But let's get to Yellowstone. You know another name for Yellowstone? You know what I would have named it? The Mafia Cowboys, or Cowboy Mafia, either one. So for those of you that are not familiar with the series, let me read the summation so you understand what it's all about. And if you haven't seen it, you got to see it. You got to watch it on the Paramount Network, Peacock Network, whatever it is. I think it's into its 4th season. But let me read it. Oscar and Emmy winner Kevin Costner is the marquee attraction of this ensemble cast in this drama series, starring as the patriarch of a powerful, complicated family of ranchers. A 6th-generation homesteader and devoted father, John Dutton controls the largest contiguous ranch in the United States. He operates in a corrupt world where politicians are compromised by influential oil and lumber corporations, and land grabs make developers billions. Amid shifting alliances, unsolved murders, open wounds, and hard-earned respect, Dutton's property is in constant conflict with those it borders, an expanding town, an Indian reservation, and America's first national park. That's the setting. Here you have it. You got John Dutton. The ranch is in Montana. It's the biggest ranch in the country, several hundred, 1,000 acres, whatever it might be, right? And John Dutton is the patriarch, played by Kevin Costner brilliantly. He's a tough guy. I mean, a really tough guy. He wants to hold on to this ranch where other corporations, other people are coming in. They want to develop the ranch into a community. They want to put a casino. They want to build an airport. They want to build skyscrapers. They want to do the whole thing. But John Dutton says, no, this is my ranch. It's been in my family for generations, and that's how it's going to stay. Now, he's got a family, and I'm going to get to that, but I want to tell you something about cowboys and about Yellowstone and why I relate it to the mafia. Here's the deal. In order to be a member of or work for the Dutton Ranch, you got to do certain things. Now, let me tell you this about cowboys. Cowboys are tough guys. You ride a horse, you're going after cattle. You're a tough guy. I've seen some cowboys. I've been to rodeos. I understand. They're tough guys. Physically, mentally, emotionally, it's a tough job. Let me tell you. In order to be a worker at the Dutton Ranch, you got to give them loyalty. Now, how do you do that? Remember in the Mafia, I took an oath. Halloween night, 1975, I took a blood oath. They pricked my finger, they cut it, some blood dropped on the floor, Saint burns in my hands, and I pledged my life to Cosa Nostra. Took the oath of omerta. Obviously, I broke it afterwards. We're not going to get into that. I've said it 1,000 times. But now, in order to be a worker at the Dutton Ranch, you also had to take an oath of alliance, of loyalty to the ranch. And taking that a step further, okay, you didn't get your finger pricked. You got branded with a hot iron, a Y, branded with a hot iron right here on your chest. A little bit tougher than getting your finger cut and having some blood dropped on the floor. Now, most of the people that work for the ranch, they had a troubled past. You know, they were in jail, they arrested, whatever. They had a troubled past. So when you came and you got the opportunity to work for John Dutton and become part of that ranch, you're going to pledge your life to them. You're going to pledge loyalty to them. That's it. It was a tough deal, let me tell you. And once you became part of that ranch, you lived on the ranch, you worked 24/7, whatever they asked you to do, that was it. You had blinding loyalty. That's it, okay? Sounds like the Mafia? Okay. A little bit more. John Dutton was a very powerful guy. You earn a lot of property. You own property. You have wealth. You have a lot of power and control. Did he have politicians? Yes. He was sleeping with the governor, a woman. Okay, he had political connections. You know, the law enforcement, he had them in the palm of his hand. He controlled a lot. People respected him, and he controlled with an iron fist. He could have been a mafia boss without a doubt. Actually, he was a mafia boss if you're looking at the mafia the way I'm describing it right now. You know, now, he had a family. He had a daughter, Beth, and let me tell you something, this was one tough cookie. If I was setting up a mafia family, a mafia chart, she would either be the underboss or the consigliere. She could have filled both roles. She was as tough as nails. She was arrogant, but she loved her father. She had a loyalty to him. There is a backstory. I'm not going to get into it with the mother. John Dutton lost his wife several years earlier, and he never got over it. He was a bitter guy as a result of that. You've seen it in his attitude. Never really smiled, never really was happy. He had a chip on his shoulder. He was kind of a sad guy. And his family, of course, a bit dysfunctional. He had another son, his son Casey. You know, he had some trouble with his son. It was rough, but it straightened out. And Casey became very loyal too. As a matter of fact, he became a member of law enforcement. He was a sheriff or something to do with that. But he was also loyal to his father. And then there was one more. There was Jamie. Now, Jamie was an adopted son, and he was kind of the educated one. He actually ran for public office. He was going to run for governor. There's a story there. I'm not going to get into that. But that was the family. Beth and Jamie, they hated one another. And there was a backstory to that too, which again, I don't want to ruin it for you. I want you to watch the series. But there's a backstory, and Beth and Jamie are always going at it, and Beth is always getting the upper hand. She is tough. I'm going to describe one scene with her. There's a couple of scenes with her that you see like, wow, you know, this girl is something. There's another character who is one of my favorite characters, and his name is Rip. He's John Dutton's right-hand man. As loyal as they come, he could be the underboss if you put him in that position. Beth and Rip, kind of underboss, consigliere, whatever. But Rip was a tough guy. He ruled with an iron hand also. All the soldiers under him, the ranchers, they respected him very much. And he was extremely loyal to John Dutton. He and Beth became an item. They're going to get married. You know, they love one another. He's about the only guy that can probably handle her because she's tough. And in her own way, she can handle him also. Couple of scenes that just stood out for me. You know, most of them involve Beth. She's in a negotiation with an older woman who is a CEO of a company that wants to, again, take over the father's ranch and build a city there. Like she wants to build something in Montana like Vail, Colorado. She's progressive, she's a developer. So she's in a sit down with Beth and they're negotiating something, and the way Beth handles this is just unbelievable. At the end of it, the woman who is actually her enemy, because this is her father's property, is so impressed with her, she says, I want to hire her, and she actually does hire her. To her, it was a mistake, as it turns out, but the negotiation's unbelievable. Another part, because in this whole series, I mean, they're murdering one another. This is tough. This is mafia stuff. They're killing one another. They're doing everything that you can imagine. They're beating people up. I mean, they're encroaching on land. I mean, politically, they're bribing people. It's a whole mafia scheme, trust me. At one point in time, John Dutton's enemies want to kill the whole family. And they actually blow up a building. They shoot John Dutton. They blow up a building that Beth is in and blow it up. And after the building is blown up, we see her walking out of the building. She's a mess, right? Her clothes are torn up. She's bleeding all over the place. She walks out. Her back is a mess from the wounds. And she lights up a cigarette, sits down on the porch, and she just goes about it. I mean, you know, just a really tough woman. Anyway, I'm not going to get into, you know, all of it because I don't want to ruin it for you. But this is a great series. Yellowstone, you can relate it to the Mafia. I guarantee when you see it, you're going to say the same thing. But remember, the point being, okay, the Mafia is not only an Italian organization. It's any organization that uses extortion and criminal methods. And I'm going to apply it to a lot of other things, but especially to the government. We're getting to that. It's a great series. And like I said, we are privileged, I think, today to have at our fingertips on our televisions at home, you know, such great series. And I'm so impressed with the writing. You know, writing is everything. You know, actors and actresses, obviously they do their job, but there's so many brilliant ones out there that can fill the roles. But The writing is so important, and everything starts with that, really. You all know that I have a television series based upon my life that's in development right now. The script is written, 3 seasons are written. We're not right now casting the major roles, and as soon as that happens, you'll hear a big announcement. Very excited. Ron Shelton is the writer. He's a brilliant writer. He actually wrote a couple of Kevin Costner's films. Kennedy Marshall that did, Jurassic Park, a whole, list of films that you'll all know, blockbuster movies. Frank Marshall is brilliant in that regard. They're the production company that are handling this, and hopefully we'll have an announcement within the next month or two, and we'll let you know about that. So, that's it for today. I hope you like my take on another Mafia, the Yellowstone Mafia, Mafia Cowboys, Cowboy Mafia, whatever way you want to look at it. Watch the series. It's great on Paramount or the Peacock Network. And that's it, my inner circle. I'm telling you, you got to join. Click on michaelfranzese.com. I'm telling you, you're going to love it, especially coming out of this pandemic. We are putting so much content in there. People are loving it. They're really helping one another. Business is coming out of it. You get with me, quite often, a couple of times a month. And my team is doing a brilliant job, and everybody's loving it. So that's it. How do I always leave you? Same way. Be safe. Be healthy. God bless every one of you. And yes, I will see you next time. Take care.